Good morning, this is Rabbi Shlomo Furst here at Yeshiva Stamanaki in Yerushalayim Kodesh. We're located in the Hanahi Yeshiva's Beit Knesset building, located on Rehov Zikron Yaakov number 6. We're very close to the central bus station, so you can walk or bus or drive, and if you're coming from Putzlarts, you can fly on in and join us for this is our first year. And we have breakfast here, all the coffee you can drink, and we'll be learning some Gemara here in the Gemara in Baba Basra, Daf Gimel Amid Beis. This is a bit of a continuation of what we finished up yesterday. We're talking about the alliance between Rome and the Hashmonaim, and we got onto the topic about Cordis, because the Gemara there, go to Zorah, Daf Ches and Tes mentioned about the Cordis, that his reign was for 103 years, and at that point, after 103 years of Cordis, his dynasty came to an end. That was the time of the Korban. So now we spoke about Cordis, so we have some to learn about here, and we have Gimel Amid Beis in Baba Basra, and the Gemara is discussing there about the permissibility of doing repairs and taking down a Beit Knesset, a shul. There are only certain conditions which you can do it, otherwise it's prohibited. So the Gemara is going to be asking now that how could Baba ben Buta, Tana, have given Hordis the Eitzah, the advice of taking down the Beis Mikdash and rebuilding it. So the Gemara begins basically on the first wide line. You have it there, Baba ben Buta. Have it there, the first wide line in the Gemara over there. Baba ben Buta. Baba ben Buta was a Tana. He was a Talmud of I think a base of Hillel, if I'm not mistaken, and he was, as we'll see, one of the remaining Chachamim of his generation. Yeah, Rock, would you like to begin?
Okay. Baba ben Buta, Echi Aschei.
Asri. That, I think that's to give over, to give the, we're in the middle of a sentence. Hecha asvi le eitza lahordis. Hisrasrei labeis hamikdash. How?
To dismantle the Beit Mikdash, the Hamar Rav Chista, all this store in the nista ad divnei bei kanishta acharita.
Okay. The question is, Rav Hizda previous, so that's the Gemara previously to this. Rav Hizda already made a statement. Lo lister, one should not dismantle inish, a person should not dismantle bei kinishte, a beit knesset. When a person cannot dismantle a base knesset until shibane beit kinishte, until another base knesset is rebuilt. Okay. Basically, the Gemara is discussing, because if you do that, there's no place, in the meantime, in the interim, there's going to be no place to daven, and it could be that if a situation arises of onus that you'll be in a tight spot, you may not even rebuild the new Beit Knesset, and you'll be left without a Beit Knesset Bichlad. So it's not permissible, it's forbidden to dismantle a Beit Knesset until you have rebuilt the new one. Okay, so the question was, Baba ben Buta, how did he give the Eitzah to Hordis that he should dismantle the Beis HaMikdash?
I will say,
these are the Gemara is going to offer two terutzim now. Two explanations why Baba ben Buta possibly, why was it permissible for him to give the Eitzah advice of Hordis to take down the Beis HaMikdash. That's one answer. Tahavya is a crack. He saw a crack. So it could have been that Baba ben Buta had noticed that there was a crack, a fissure in the foundation, which would have rendered the the binyan Sukan, dangerous, right? So if it's, because that's one of the times where it's permissible to take down a Beit Knesset, even if you don't have another one, if it's going to be a Sukana. If there's a crack, it's a serious crack that could cause a hospital if it caves in, so it'll be dangerous to people, risky. So because of this risk factor, even if you don't have another place to daven, you can dismantle the current base mikdash. That's, so maybe he saw some type of crack in the foundation of the base of mikdash. The low hadra day. You might say as another explanation that the king, the monarchy is different. Malchus is shiny. The Malchus, the monarchy is different. The Lo Hadra, it's not going to go back on its objectives. As we see, there's a Maimer of Shmuel. He's going to base this teretz is based on the Maimer of Shmuel. The Amr Shmuel. Go ahead.
The Amr Shmuel. Yama Machuta. Akarna uprooted.
Akrana Turi.
Uprooted the mountain.
If they say if the Malchus, if the king says to uproot the mountain,
the Katway will uplift the mountain.
Lo Hadra.
Lo Hadra, and will not Chozebo.
Yeah, he won't change. He won't change from his mind, because for a king to say something and to change his mind, that represents a Besoran. Excuse me. He's kalash. He's kalashi in seichel. He doesn't know what he's doing. That we have many lumudim from Akishverish, and therefore, or he's kalash that he can't fulfill his promises. A king who can't fulfill his promises doesn't show much for himself. So, for many different reasons, a king, once he says something, has to usually make do, whatever needs to be done to keep his word. So two possible teruts, and why Baba ben Buta gave the Eitzah to Hordis to dismantle the Beis HaMikdash. One, that there could have been a crack that was there, or the kingdom in general, the king is different, and he's not going to go back on what his objective. Oh, so now the Gemara goes into some details about the doings between Hordis and Baba ben Buta. Okay, so now since the Gemara mentioned Hordis, we're going to go into a side point about Hordis. Let's continue.
Hordis Avda, he made or did the Beit Hashmonai. Avda, the Havdad was an Eved, was a servant.
Right, that Hordis was a slave to the Beis Hashmonai, right? He was a slave. Right. And as Pasha's Eved Kanani, he was not Jewish, Eved Kanani.
He noticed a Tinoket.
Right, and this was Chanukah, a young girl from who was from Hashmonai. She was from the Beis Hashmonai. She was from the Hashmonai dynasty.
One day, Shema Shel Ahu Gavra. Bat Kala, he heard a bat call. The bat call Avda. The Marid call Evid?
Any Evid, you said right, the body, how Ugabra, meaning in reference to Hordis. Hordis heard one day a bas call, the Amr that said, call Evid, any Evid.
The Marid Hashta. Matzlach, that will rebel, now he will be successful.
Right, exactly. So Hordis, for one reason or other, right, he heard a baskor that any Evid that is going to, at this point in time, rebel against his master, so be Matzliach. We're going to do more Amran and Daf Gimel Amid Base in Baba Basra.
It's very difficult. How can an Evid hear a bat call? Is that even Jewish?
Okay, so I mean, you have to understand the whole concept of what's bas kol. Okay, that's a whole other topic we can do. But Yishal, you want to share on with Amram the more we're learning there? They have another call. Perfect. Very good. Now Gimel Amid base by the first wide line. If you see it there, I'll just catch you up. can follow along.
Yes.
You see the first white line, Baba ben Buddha, right?
Yeah.
Heke as v'lei eitzel lahordis lemisrai lebeis hamikdash. How did Baba ben Buddha how was he able to give the advised orders to dismantle the base hamikdash? Right? Because we were just learning previously, the Gemara was learning about that it's forbidden to tear down a base Knesset unless you have another one to pray in the meantime. So how could he do this? He says Rabbi Lo Yistain Beit Kinishtei Adidnei Beit Kinishtei Chrisa. Rav Chisda previously said that you cannot dismantle a base Knesset until you have another base Knesset. Right? So there are two tirutzim. Iboy same to you Chaza. It could be that there was a crack found in the base of Mikdash and it rendered it dangerous. So therefore he could give that advice to take it down and rebuild it, repair it. Iboy same Malchus was shiny. The Malchus is different. They're low hard They're not going to change their minds. If they go through the project, they're going to complete it without doubt. Amar Shmuel says, I Amar Malchus Akarna Tori, low hard. If the king will say to uproot a mountain, the mountain's going to be uprooted and it's not going to change their mind. Okay? So now, we finished with that. Now we're going to go into Hordis and some of his ways and doings here. Hordis Avda, the base Hashmonoi Hava. Hordis was a slave to the dynasty of the Hashmonoim. Nosan Einai Ba'osa Chanukah. He had started looking and noticed a certain young girl from the base Hashmonoim. He was an Eved Kanani, and he noticed this Jewish girl from the Hashmonoim, from the kings. Yom Chad Shma Hau Gabra. One day, Hordis heard Baskol. He heard a Baskol. The Omer that said the Baskol said, "Kol Avdi the Marid Hashta Matzliach." So any Eved that's going to rebel against his masters right now, it's a good time, and he'll be Matzliach. So that's where we got up to right.
Who was his master?
The Hashmonaim. Yeah, Hashmonaim. Whoever they were. So what happened? What did he? So he heard this green light, so to speak, that he could rebel, right? And a good reason to rebel, because if he rebels against them, he'll be able to take this girl that he's interested in. Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Rockman. Sorry.
Okay.
So what did he do? We heard this fast call.
Shma hu gavra bat chara, Malko Avda Marid Hashta Matzlach. He'll be successful. Kam Katlinu, Kulu killed everybody. Narotei his masters. Shairai, he left over. He didn't kill the girl.
Because he wanted to marry her, right? If he would marry her, she's Jewish, right? So if he would marry her, have children from her, right? So those would be his sons, who would be Jewish sons, and then he'd be able to have the Malchus with the dynasty of Jewish blood within the kingdom. Yeah.
Ki Chazata he, when she saw this,
And she realized what this guy's up to, right?
By the Min Saba, she wanted to the Min Saba, the Min Saba, Slika Ligra.
So she wanted to make an announcement. So she went up to the roof, right? She went up to the roof. The Igra is a roof. Went up to the roof of, I guess, a building there. Rama Koila, she raised her voice.
Kwamandi Dati Bama Chashmonai Katina. Whoever says he's from the house of the Chashmonai. Katina Abdul. He is a slave.
Shalom Aleichem.
Lechem Shalom.
We're learning Gemara in Baba Basra right now.
You can do halacha soon?
Yes, halacha begins in,
A few minutes.
let's see, about 10 minutes or so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so she wanted to make an announcement. She saw what Hordis was up to and what he was after. She went up to the roof, raised her voice, and said, "Kolman de say anyone who's going to come, va'amr and say mi beis Hashmonoi," said that he's coming from Beis Hashmonoi. Avdu, you should know he's a slave. Why? Below.
So Ishtayua, there wasn't any left from them. I wasn't any left from the Shkunai. Ella, he knew, only she was left. That he looked a flamigra, from the roof to the floor, to the ground.
Okay, stop, okay? So she said anyone who's gonna claim that they're from Beis HaShmorim should know they're an Evid, that there was only one person left, and that was this woman, this young girl, who's her, and she went up to the roof, and she fell from the roof. She fell from the roof, and she killed, I don't know whether she killed herself, or just as she fell from the roof.
She slipped.
Whatever it could be, doesn't go into details whether it was suicide or not. And she was the only remaining vestige of dynasty of Beis HaShmorim, and she fell by falling off the roof. That came to an end of the Hashmonaim. So anyone who comes and claims that from Hashmonaim, they should know they're in fact a slave. Okay. So now what did
That was the curse.
yeah.
That was the curse. I mean.
Yeah, that's a whole another question.
Right.
Yeah. So now, what happened next? Okay, Hortus was in a predicament because now he killed out all his masters. He killed out the whole dynasty of and now he's left with the kingdom himself, but he's not a king, right? So how is he going to somewhat justify him taking the throne? What did he do?
From that, what was that word?
Tamna, he like embalmed her.
Tamna, Sheva Shanim,
Vidvusha.
honey.
Right, he had her preserved for 7 years in honey, right? Honey has the ability to preserve things, right? That's one explanation. Ika da amri.
That were those that say, Ba, Alea, Ika,
Da amri
Ika Damre,
lo aleh. So there are those that say while she was in this preserved state, he was having relations with her, and others say that she was in this preserved state, he was not having relations with her, right?
I mean, but she gonna.
Yeah, you see what Taiva can drive a person crazy. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. Okay, the Amre.
Amrela, they said to Baba.
Those that said Bala,
Bala.
those that say that he did have relations with her.
Hat Mana, the Tuve.
Litzrei. To preserve her form, right? He was interested in her, right? So she wanted to preserve her form, right? And that she shouldn't decay, in order that she can have fulfill his tivus, his pleasures.
Litzrei, Madame Reba, Loba Aliyah, Hai de Tamna, Ki Hechi, the Nemru, Bad Melech,
Nisa.
Nisa.
So, yeah. So the other opinion, it says he didn't have relations with her. So why did he preserve her? And why keep her around, right? In order that people should say he married the Bas Melech, that he married the daughter of the king. So they explain that he would take her out every once in a while and stand her up on the balcony, and they would stand there together, and like she was preserved. So people would see, people didn't get to see the king and queen all the time. Every once in a while they'd come out, right? So every once in a while, when he'd get her ready, he'd take her out. And, again, she's preserved. People don't know what's going on. And people got the false impression that he married the Bas Melech, the queen, the princess. Right? Oh, so now, this is only the beginning of the story. Okay. So now this is Hortus speaking to himself. Man Dorish, meaning there's a drasha from the pasuk, right? So who are those that expound the pasuk, right? What does that mean?
From enormous to
Meaning, meaning he was now threatened. Furst now he had killed off the Hashmonoim, and now he took reign of the kingdom. But he, knowing that he is not a Jew, he knows that he doesn't have rights to the kingdom, and he felt that to be a threat, right? An obvious threat. So he said to himself, Man Dorish, who expounds this pasuk, Mikerev Achicha, from the midst of your brother, Tasim Alechem, from the midst of your brethren, you shall place upon yourselves a king. Because that was the threat. Because this pasuk, and those who darsh in it, who expound upon this and learn a halakha from this, is speaking directly to him, since he's not a chicha, he's not one of the brethren, not one of the fellow Jews, right? So who are these people who are threatening his throne with their drasha of Mikerev Achicha Tasim Alecha Melech? Who is that? Right? Rabbanan. It's the Rabbanan, the Talmidei Chachamim. They are those who preserve the Torah Shabbal Peh from generation to generation, and they darshan this pasuk. And those are those people who are most threatful to him.
I said he had the okay to kill the Hashmonaim. Now he has an okay to kill the Chachamim.
So Rachamim is asking as follows: if we assume that the Bas Koil was a green light from Shemayim to kill the Hashmonoim, right? So does that also give him a green light to kill the Rabbanan, right? So it's not so clear about the whole concept of the Bas Kol and how that fit in over here. Number one, and
he was a rebel. He rebelled.
Of course he
he's a rebel.
No,
so he
but-
can do whatever he wants. I mean, he doesn't need an excuse.
no, but he has a threat. I mean, so see, there's an interesting about kings in general. Kings, if they have seichel, they don't want to go against the masses. You know, if they have no seichel, like she said, let them eat cake. And then she got her head removed because she didn't realize she was going against the masses, right? But with a person who has seichel, he doesn't want. Even we'll see we're getting up to Parsha Shmos, and with Paro, even Paro didn't want to go against his advisors. He always was. With seichel, with intelligence, a king can rule and be fairly safe, but he has to take into consideration his advisors and the general populace opinion. He can't just simply ignore it. He's not going to last too long as a king that way. He'll have a lot of difficulty doing it, a lot of resistance. So, true, but nevertheless, first of all, killing out the Hashmonoim, right? So he said he rebelled, okay? So whether they had to kill them or not, that's another question. The first and basic question is this Bas Kol that he heard, was that something which was coming from Shemayim, which was really a green light for him to do what he did? That's number two. Number three, getting up and doing now what he did, right, to kill out the Rabbanan, right, that's also very questionable. Obviously, Ben Noach is Chayav Misa, Shrikas Damim is Chayav Misa. There's no doubt about it. Obviously, Shrikas Damim was not permissible, right? Shrikas Damim, no one's Chayav Misa here. The Hashmonoim, even if you'll go with the Ramban's explanation in Chumash, next week's Parsha, that they improperly took the Malchus from Yehuda, but whether we're Chayav Misa for that, Ad Kedei Kach, that's another story.
Yeah, no.
That's another story. Okay.
Rabbi, what's Chayav Misa?
Yeah,
Death penalty, okay.
Death penalty.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, what are we left with over here? We're left with the fact that he he went and killed out all the Rabbanim. There's a Tosos here. The last Tosos is straight away. I have it there. Rachmi
Katlinu.
Kulu
Kulu
Rabbanim.
Rabbanan. Killed all the Rabbanan. Lav Dafka, not necessarily.
Kulu. Lav Dafka Kulu.
Not everybody.
Not necessarily each and every one. Maybe it was a majority, it was a lot. Right?
The Havu, B'nai Betira, Shiu Nesiim, they were princes. She'Allah, Hillel Bavel, Damrinan, Pesachim, Poter Gilu, Damrin. Hillel Haya Bifnei Abait, 100 שנה. 100 years before the
The Corbin.
Korban. כדאמרינא בפרק כמה בתשבת. מלכות הודוס היה בפני הבית 103 years. כדאמרינא בפרק כמה.
That's where we were, right? And Horus was 103. So you see here that Hillel was 100 years before the Korban Abayis. And 3 years previous to that's when Horus took control, right? And so Tosfos bringing that as a raya that obviously couldn't have killed out all the Chachamim. Okay, we'll have to stop here in the middle of this.
Was
Okay.
Horus a